Yankees win 6-0 over the Guardians, take the series win. They also clinched the tiebreaker that we were talking about yesterday. And in addition to that, we got good news on Jazz Chism. Welcome in. This is Yankees Unloaded. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. And we are here to talk about a Yankees win and some cautiously optimistic stuff that came up. We're going to be talking about Gleyber Torres today in a good light. We're going to be talking about Verdugo and probably not a good light. We're going to be talking about Aaron Judge. We're going to be talking about Giancarlo Stanton, whatever the hell he did today with that home run. Incredible.
Austin and shout out to Wolf Rockin' 74 for becoming our latest member. So we have to give him a shout out there.
I appreciate you throwing that in there because, yes, I actually didn't have that in front of me. I should have. But we are very excited for this episode because it's not often that the Yankees win in a shutout. You don't have... I mean, how many shutout wins do you get in a season, realistically?
Not many. I mean, not
doing
many.
It against the Guardians, that's a pretty good thing. Also, Gerrit Cole, your ace, who has had his ups and downs this year, obviously dealt with the injury. He's starting to look like the ace. Now, consistency is starting to come together here. We're going to talk about him. And come on, Jazz Chism being back in this lineup. I think everyone's really excited about that. And if you didn't know about it, now you're probably excited. So, Gary, we're going to start from the top here. And that is Gleyber Torres. I'm going to throw this your way. I did tell you off air, so it's not like Gary's hearing it for the first time. But no one's talking about how good Gleyber Torres has been in that leadoff role. No one is talking about how good Gleyber Torres has been over the last 40 games. His splits would have you pretty much, and I didn't calculate today's game, so I'm estimating here. But looking at his splits, he's around 280 batting average over the last 40 games and 350 on base percentage, which is actually higher than Austin Wells currently. So impressive. I didn't love Gleyber Torres in the leadoff role at the beginning of the year, and he struggled, obviously. But, I mean, to be honest with you, I think Gleyber Torres has played pretty well offensively the last 2 months, and I think, I wasn't really shocked to see decent production in those 40 games. I was more shocked at the on-base percentage. But you look today, Gary, I know you're going to talk about it as well. Around 30 pitches he saw today. He's doing his job because not only is he, he's the table setter. He's the first guy up. Your entire job is to get on base, start the game, to bring up Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Austin Wells, create runs, right? But in this other sense, the role kind of changes, right? Because when you're at that leadoff spot, now you got to bring up Soto and Judge later on in the game. So your first at bat is a different role than moving on after that. So he knows, hey, I'm going to see the most at bats of anybody more often than not. So I need to do a good job of getting on base. He had 2 strikeouts today, and people will complain about that. But he also had 2 walks, and he just generated tons of pitches. And in this game, the way it has become, you can win games just by getting the starting pitcher out of the game.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And let's be clear. A lot of people watch the box score. They do. Maybe not our audience, but there are a lot of Yankees fans and baseball fans in general that will look at MLB.com. They'll go on their app, MLB's app, and they'll look at the stat sheet. They'll see 1 for 3 by Gleyber Torres' name, 2 walks, struck out twice. And a lot of people tend to overanalyze runs scored and RBIs. Obviously, this is a game designed to score runs and run prevention, but let's understand what we've been asking from the leadoff hitter. We've said we don't care if you hit 30 homers. Anthony Volpe, everyone clamored when he was red hot. Let's move him up to the leadoff spot. People weren't asking Anthony Volpe to hit 325, drive in 100, and steal 50 bases. That's not what they were asking for. Everyone assumed if Volpe gets in that position, his job is to get on base. That's it, right? See a bunch of pitches, get on base. How many times can you walk? How many hits can you get, right? Even if you get hit by a pitch, you're on base. That's the job. Because when you have Juan Soto and Aaron Judge is a cartoon character at this point. This is not real. The season he's having, I've seen Juan Soto do this before. This is incredible. Aaron Judge is not real. So what are we really asking for from our leadoff hitter? Gleyber Torres has done that now multiple times in a row, and that is hustling on balls in the infield that you didn't hit well, and it paid off in a huge way. He essentially got us 3 runs yesterday by not doing a damn thing other than legging out an infield single. That's how you change games, by being a role player. Gleyber Torres, if he does this correctly, he's a super role player. But when he tries to play like a superstar, if Gleyber Torres tries to play outside of himself, tries to hit home runs, he tries to be 2017 Gleyber Torres, well, we've seen more times than not, it's a disappointment. He suddenly turns into a 5 or 6 hitter, and that's not what this team needs. We have that already. We've got Austin Wells doing a job. We've got Giancarlo Stanton doing that 5 or 6 hitter job. We've got Anthony Volpe today doing that 5 or 6 hitter job. We don't need it. We need somebody who's able to go do what we're asking them to do, which is see a ton of pitches and reach first base. Once you do that, we can accept losing a game because Juan Soto and Aaron Judge didn't drive you in. But what we can't have is have you going 0 for 4, 0 for 5, just refusing to take a walk. Gleyber Torres is a player who in years past has struggled to take walks. He has. And this is partially why you said, I actually really like Austin Wells in the leadoff spot, and I said I'd leave him at 4. We've got to test someone in our role department and say, please go out there and do the job we're asking you to do. Gleyber Torres, after that benching, hey, this is why we said to bench him. You bring him back on the field, and for some reason, Gleyber Torres has turned into the version of the player we've been begging him to be, which is stop trying to be a superstar, be the role player you're paid to be. And it's paying off for the Yankees in a big way. He's changing games without putting a ball in the seats, without roping balls in the gap. It's fun to watch.
It is fun to watch. If you're just a fan of the sport and you love everything about it, Gleyber's doing the things that are sexy to you. The casual viewer might not be obsessed with walks, but man, I love walks. I love watching a player who's down 0-2 fight back, battle back like Gleyber's done. I mean, you see it, he'll foul off pitches, and he's almost purposely fouling off pitches because he's like, that's not a good pitch, but they might call that a strike. So he's a little bit late, and some people will be like, oh, he just missed it. I think it's on purpose a lot of the time with those guys. So you're trying to foul off those pitches, stay alive, and then work that count. And then, I thought Williams today was pretty solid. I know the stats won't show that, but he kind of lost the strike zone towards the end of that run. And I think a big reason for that is because of like the 30 pitches Gleyber saw today. So I got to give Gleyber just a lot of credit, especially after last night when I was saying, my FU lineup, which wasn't meant to be taken super seriously. I had him out of the lineup, but I didn't think that was realistic. I don't think there's any chance in hell Gleyber Torres isn't in a postseason lineup if he's healthy. So
yeah, we both agreed with that.
Yeah. So I think like moving forward, if Gleyber, and this is where I want to shift over to the lineup, and then we're going to talk about Verdugo. Okay. The lineup here. Okay. Because we care about the postseason. There's 32 games left in the year. Okay. Or 34, excuse me. 32 home runs left. The Judge and Soto duo need. But 34, I had those swapped last night. 34 games are remaining. And I look at Gleyber right now and what he means to a postseason lineup. And Gary, I sent this to you, and I started to get a little excited about this because you think about it, Gleyber Torres, if he continues this like up right now, 350 on base percentage, that's one of the best leadoff hitters in the game currently. I mean, seriously. So that on base percentage is great. By the way, batted balls in play, his batting average is 313 in that span. So he's doing a really good job. It's not he's not getting any cheapies or anything like that. So Gleyber's doing a nice job, and when he can't, put the ball in play, he's getting on base in other ways. Number one, if he's doing this, now he's the leadoff hitter. Why is that so important? Well, I'll tell you. First off, he's got some power. We know he's got the potential. He's hit 29 home runs in the past. I think he's hit more than that, over 30, I think. But yeah, this is a guy that has power. So if it just, say it clicks in October, you still have that power at the top of the lineup. The most important thing about Gleyber here is that he allows run producers to stay in run producing roles.
Yes.
So now you have Torres at leadoff, and now you don't have to talk about Jason Dominguez leading off. He can now stay in that 5th spot, 4th spot, 6th spot. And now you have what I believe this would be. I'll say this right now, Gary. I think this is the postseason lineup. If I'm being honest, currently, I think the Yankees are telling us this is the case. Gleyber leading off at second. Juan Soto in the second spot at right field. Aaron Judge playing center, 3rd spot in the order. Cleanup is Austin Wells. Hitting 5th is left fielder Jason Dominguez. Hitting 6th is DH Giancarlo Stanton. 7th is 3rd baseman Jazz Chisholm Jr. 8th is 1st baseman Anthony Rizzo. And 9th is shortstop Anthony Volpe. And look, I understand Volpe, he's been a little disappointing this year, but if he's hitting 9th, we're not complaining. And 8th, I'll tell you right now, if Anthony Rizzo is half of what he used to be, I mean, having an 8th hitter, that's dangerous. That's the best lineup in Major League. I mean, I truly believe that if these guys end up being what we expect them to be, like, because Gary, I'm not sitting here saying Anthony Rizzo is going to hit 320 when he comes back, but I think he can hit like 240 and start adding some power back into that, that lineup. And I think that's really all the Yankees need. Just add some power, maybe, get that slugging percentage up there, because end of the day, if you're an 8th hitter, I'm not expecting you to hit in the 300s, 280s even. So
right, because that whole Rizzo thing, people have been looking at Rizzo, and when we talked about him projecting into this lineup as the postseason nears closer, well, we never said Anthony Rizzo needs to be the version of himself from a year and a half ago. We never asked for that. What we were saying was that it's an upgrade probably right now over Ben Rice and DJ LeMahieu. And as far as Gleyber Torres goes at the leadoff position, if he can continue to do this, which is get on base, that's the only thing we care about. Get on base and stay in that spot at leadoff. As you said, Jason Dominguez doesn't have to come up to the big leagues right away and be your leadoff guy. Because I've actually mentioned I would love to see Jason Dominguez in the leadoff position, but that's more of a long-term thing, and I can't necessarily say it's ideal for the Yankees to bring Jason Dominguez here and insist he has to play well right away when he's been dealing with injury the whole last year. He hasn't been playing baseball, something you've brought up. He hasn't been playing baseball. He's been rehabbing. So what version of Jason Dominguez do you think we're getting? Well, the best way to bring out an elite Jason Dominguez is to hide him at 6 or 7 in this lineup. You got Gleyber Torres working counts, getting on base. Juan Soto and Judge are doing what they've done all year. Austin Wells, this past 2.5 months, he's been spectacular. You leave him at 4, he's a run producer. Giancarlo Stanton, I mean, the pitch he hit today was ridiculous, okay? You leave him where he's at. And Alex Verdugo, that's the player we're circling here in our lineup. That's a player right there. You can take him, exit stage left, put Jason Dominguez in that position. You can throw Jason Dominguez out in left field. I'm perfectly okay with it. Very demanding defensive position at Yankee Stadium. I think Jason Dominguez can handle it. I put him in left field. I throw him in that 5 or 6 spot with Giancarlo. Pair those two. And then you've got what? Cabrera, Volpe, and Anthony Rizzo in your 9 spot. The Yankees aren't going to have a problem scoring runs. As I've said before, this Yankees team has to figure out where they're getting outs from. We got Cody Poteet coming back. Clark Schmidt is nearing a return in his rehab assignment. Jazz Chism is going to enter into this lineup, obviously probably in place of Cabrera, if we're being honest. So there's a lot to be hopeful for with this organization. We just have to make sure the best players are making their way to the field, because it hasn't been a sure thing. I mean, we've made plenty of content talking about guys like Austin Wells. Austin Wells sat 3 games in a row this past week, right? That can't happen if the Yankees want to go win a World Series. You have to put the best players out there. I want to make sure I bring this up on the show. I actually talked about it before we went live. Gerrit Cole. Gerrit Cole pitched to Austin Wells today, and he wasn't his sharpest self. I know that results-wise, he was really good because he didn't give up any runs, and that's technically his job, but he did have 5 walks and only struck out 2. So not exactly the Gerrit Cole we're used to, but here's one thing that I was excited about. His misses were outside the strike zone. No longer were his misses middle, being taken out to right field, being taken deep to left field. No, his misses were off the plate. That cutter I've been saying he needs to go away from, that cutter is either on the corner or it's in off the plate. That's what I want to see. And as long as he can do that, my expectation over this next month as we head to the postseason, Gerrit Cole is going to sharpen up to the version we need. And now it's up to Rodon and other guys like Clark Schmidt and Heel to get healthy. Because if that happens, at the very least, we have a chance.
No, I 100% agree with that. I think right now it's weird because, we did just have that 15,000 view video where we were kind of going in and saying, look, like it's over. Like Boone needs to go. Like, and obviously covering a team where you have to essentially do 162 shows, because we're committed to doing a show every single game. We missed a few. You were on your honeymoon, I believe. So I think that's definitely fair, but we missed some, but I mean, we've been very consistent, Gary. This is our 116th episode. So I think it's really, this is our first year going about this and trying to be fair. Also,
I thought we were industry plants.
Oh, I cannot wait for those comments, man. I'm the furthest thing from an industry plant.
They're coming.
But yeah, man, I think we've tried to do the best job that we can of not being, the sky is falling. No, it's amazing. They're going to win the World Series. Oh, but it's over. And I think maybe sometimes we tend to kind of go back and forth a little bit, but this team goes back and forth a little bit. What I will say right now, okay, as of August 22nd, Thursday at 8:11 p.m. Eastern time, right? I'm going to say that I feel cautiously optimistic about the Yankees winning the World Series. I think right now they have a position here, and I'm not saying it's going to happen 100%, and I'm not saying that this Anthony Rizzo thing is the save. He's not the savior of the team, but having Anthony Rizzo come in, add a little bit of power. If he can hit around 240, I'm not asking too much of him, and play a decent first base, like where he's not the worst first baseman defensively. That is going to be such a huge boost if Gleyber keeps this up, if Wells continues to play every single day like he should. Of course, if they call up Jason Dominguez, I think Jazz Chisholm is chomping at the bit to get out there. He'll be out there tomorrow. I just think what we've seen, and actually this is what happens when you get an opportunity to come back. And I think about this all the time because people look at it, it's like, oh, it's coach speak. Sean McVay of the LA Rams is always like, I'm really excited about the opportunity to go out and we can prove ourselves, or I'm really excited to learn from this mistake. They'll lose a game where Sean McVay will say, I was out coached, and I'm really excited to get back out there and prove that like that's not going to happen again. Right. Well, the reason I bring that up is because that Guardians game, the first game of this series at the stadium, you needed that game. And they lost in 12 innings. They sacrificed their entire bullpen to try to win that game. And if they fell flat on their face, we called Aaron Boone saying it was the worst managing performance of his career. And I think it truly was.
It was bad.
I think the Yankees, and the reason why it was so scary, that game, is because games like that can literally kill you. They can suck the soul out of your organization. And the Yankees came back the next day. Nestor Cortez took the bump and was like, I don't give a rip. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to give them 7 innings. I'm going to give us a chance to win this ball game. They're not even going to have to use their bullpen. And that was a big thing. They stepped up with Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. And so people today were saying, well, it was fun, the 8-1 game, but it was all Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. So Stanton steps up today, and you have Gleyber step up, and you have Wells. And so this is what happens when a team starts to rally. And they haven't been able to put together a ton of winning streaks. Their last legitimate winning streak was a 5-game winning streak going back to the Boston series and Philadelphia series. But they did have that 3-game winning streak against the White Sox twice and the Tigers. So now they've started a 2-game winning streak against one of the best teams in baseball here. They won the series. They're feeling good. They're getting Jazz Chisholm back, who's going to be an energizer bunny for this team. He already was. And now we're getting all this news about, Rizzo's back, and, he's rehabbing, and you got, Ian Hamilton, and you got Clark Schmidt and Cody Poteet. And I would say right now, not to go like over the top, get excited, this is the best team ever, but I feel like right now, Yankee fans should have a little bit of a different perspective than we had 3 days ago.
Okay, I think all that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I want to defend the Yankees here a little bit when it comes to win streaks and putting together just the total package and putting this division away, because I think a lot of people can agree if the Yankees maybe were a little bit better at manager, or they were a little bit more aggressive at the deadline, plus a better manager, you can make the argument that this Yankees team should have run away with the AL East this year.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to say this about this team. We have to remember we need to judge them based on what's happened, not what they could be. Now, the Yankees didn't have a good deadline. They got Jazz Chisholm. We can agree was an amazing pickup. He deals with injury concerns. He just in general has dealt with injuries over the years. And unfortunately, we dealt with one. Fortunately, he's coming back tomorrow. But I'm going to say this about the Yankees and win streaks. The biggest win streak in Major League Baseball right now is the Los Angeles Dodgers, who were already just maybe 6 days ago in a free fall, and everyone was telling us the D-backs and the Padres were going to run them down, right? So they're in a 4-game win streak. The next biggest win streak is the Arizona Diamondbacks at 3. They just lost 3 games in a row before that. You look across baseball, everyone's either won 1 game in a row or lost 2 games in a row. Boston is the only other team in baseball that's won another 2 games in a row. So it just kind of goes to show you that's baseball this year. It just is what it is. Should it be our standards? Probably not. But when it comes to winning a World Series, someone has to win the World Series. Whether you think it's a great team or not, somebody's got to do it. And right now, is Baltimore the team where you say, okay, this team just through and through, they're elite everywhere. Is their starting pitching elite? Nope. Is their relief pitching elite? Can they close a game down when they really need to in the 8th or 9th inning? No, they can't. You know why? Because Felix Bautista's gone. So Baltimore shouldn't be feeling confident they can go dominate anybody else in a division either. Now, Cleveland, we just showed in this series, Cleveland's not a team we need to necessarily be worried about. They're missing Shane Bieber, and they can't score a run since the break, right?
Yeah.
The Kansas City Royals, for obvious reasons, they're not scaring anybody. They're a good up-and-coming team in this league, but they're not terrifying. The Houston Astros, probably one of the scarier teams in baseball, they were bad for the first half of the season. So they're not this dominant start-to-finish organization either. They have aged starting pitching, and they had question marks in the bullpen. They made some key additions, right? They made a pickup actually just now on the waivers. So, good for them. But is Houston this team that everyone's terrified of right now? Not necessarily. They're just someone you need to worry about, but not be terrified. Then you look across baseball, Seattle Mariners. They just fired their manager. That was a team that we had actually contending in the postseason. They're in a free fall. You've got the Philadelphia Phillies, who are literally the worst team in baseball since the break. They're awful, okay? And this is a team that we described as the best team on paper in Major League Baseball, okay? You got the Braves, ravished with injuries. Mets, fighting for their lives. Milwaukee Brewers, they just lost Corbin Burns to Baltimore. So they're not a team you're terrified of in the postseason. And then you've got Dodgers, D-backs, and Padres, all teams that we feel we can beat. So my whole point here, we're going to bring this home. The New York Yankees aren't this elite team. They're not. But no one else is either. We just have to be the best of the good teams when it's all said and done. And you can absolutely argue Aaron Boone hasn't done a good enough job when it matters to get us over the hump, to get us over these, to get us past these teams, the biggest tests of the year. He hasn't done it. So he needs to do it for the first time. A lot of these pitchers, Gerrit Cole, they need to pitch really well when it matters. Carlos Rodon, he needs to execute when it matters. Guys have to be healthy. Giancarlo Stanton needs to be on the field when it matters. Jason Dominguez, he's dealt with injuries these last couple of years. He needs to be on the field in October. So there are a lot of question marks with the Yankees. But damn it, there's a lot of question marks across Major League Baseball. No one's got a clue who's going to win the World Series. So why not us, right? There are a lot of things to be frustrated about. Should he be fired? Should the GM be dismissed? They're all valid. But we don't need to be the 98 Yankees to win this year. There aren't very many great teams in baseball, and I think we have an opportunity, not going to call it likely, but we have a chance to be the last team standing.
I thought that was very well said, and I definitely, like I said, I definitely agree. And I mean, I know there have been times where I'm like, yeah, this doesn't look great. but I've never once really felt like this team couldn't win. Boone makes me feel like they can't win, but at the same time, Boone also managed pretty well at the beginning of the season. We gave him a lot of praise. So, I mean, he's capable of doing it. And to be fair, because we want to be fair on this channel, and I want to make it very clear, I don't hate Boone personally. I don't. So I'm also going to say I think Boone managed pretty well the last 2 games. He let Cortez go 7 innings. He went above 100 pitches and didn't go crazy. He's like, you know what? Cortez is really doing us a solid here.
And technically, he said Warren. Remember that?
What was that?
Remember he said Will Warren? He said before the game. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just thinking about it. You were giving him credit about Nestor Cortez. And before the game, he said Will Warren could come out of the bullpen that day. And so it goes to show you, Aaron Boone came into the game not with the idea that Nestor Cortez is just going to stay in for 7 innings no matter what, because we needed it, right? He came in with a backup plan that Will Warren might come in the 4th or 5th inning and then pitch from the 4th or 5th all the way to the 8th or 9th. That might actually be on the table. And he watched what Nestor Cortez was doing out on the field, plus the run support, and said, this is his game. Him and Miza are going to go out there and finish this game on their own. And that was something that set up the rest of this week. So to your point, Aaron Boone has been a help in some regard in this series. So we want to give him credit when it's due.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to be like, well, you know, this is the best team ever, and they were supposed to win, so screw Boone. It's like, well, he still has to manage the game. You can't have it both ways. You can't be critical of every little thing he does wrong, but then not give him his praise when he does something right. And I mean, that at least not on our show. Not on our show. Other shows might be complaining about him today. I'll say this. It's not necessarily, I'm not happy that Boone continues to throw out Verdugo. So, I mean, let's pivot to Verdugo. We'll talk about him quickly. I have to say this. I mean, Verdugo is somebody at one point, yes, you know, looked like he could be a contributor and everything. But Gary, you and I both have kind of changed our stance a little bit on this contact, right? We were so excited for this. Oh, contact bat, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in the words of Joker, you get what you effing deserve. The Yankees got their contact bat, but it's soft contact every time. And soft isn't even the word. I feel like he's hitting at 40 miles an hour. It's like when you go to the you know, any sort of batting cage and you have the 80 and the 60 and then the 40 where it's just like a lollipop. That's, you know, that's what's coming off his bat. So what I want to make clear is he's got a negative 16 batting run value, which is second. It's the second percentile. That's awful. That's one of the worst in baseball, period, according to Baseball Savant. His base running run value is 35th percentile, -1. And his fielding run value is only 1. He's at 62nd percentile. So to me, he's a better than average fielder, but he's going downhill every single week. He's getting worse and worse and worse. And he's got this great arm. And, you know, we could talk about that 94th percentile arm. But, I mean, this is a guy that does not hustle. This is a guy that is just absolutely doing nothing at the plate. And, you know, to me, I look at that Red Sox series we talk about all the time, and you look at his split since then, he's batting 188. I mean, he like the other day when they asked Boone why he was in the lineup, and he's like, yeah, you know, he's had some moments, and, you know, I don't care. You are what you are more often than not. And Verdugo this year is showing you why the Red Sox got rid of him. His second half has been absolutely terrible. And that was last year. His first half last year, didn't he hit like 290? And his second half of the season, he hit 220.
That's right. Well,
he's almost doing, except he was never the 290 guy for the Yankees. So it's really frustrating because you have a guy in Jason Dominguez who's in the minors right now, who they're worried about the rookie of the year thing, eligibility next year and whatever. But I'm not even upset that Jason Dominguez isn't up over him. I'm upset that we're acting like, you know, days like today, right? Cabrera's in the lineup, but the other day when, you know, say Peraza was in the lineup, and I know he's getting sent down to bring up Jazz, not really too complaining about there, but, you know, my point I'm making is Cabrera can play left field. John Birdie, when he comes back, can play left field. If you make the argument, well, we can't bring up Jason Dominguez yet because, we don't want to take away his rookie of the year eligibility next year. I think it's dumb, and Gary and I disagree, but fine, we'll let you have that. That is not an excuse to keep Verdugo out there when there are better players. And you could say, well, Verdugo's a better fielder than Cabrera and Birdie. And I would just say, how much better? Because he's not good enough in the field to warrant playing when he has a 288 on base percentage, when he has a 227 average, when he's hitting just ground balls. And the thing I will also say is this, okay, he doesn't strike out, right? Never strikes out. People will always say, well, he doesn't strike out. Yeah, it's great. I'd rather have the 2 strikeout Torres that we saw today that got on base twice and put together some really good at bats than have 0 for 4 Verdugo, who, by the way, is always capable in grounding into a double play. A strikeout helps more than a double play does. A strikeout, that's one batter down, right? You move on to the next guy. A double play ends innings. Okay, you can end an inning on a strikeout, but when there's one out, you can't end the inning on a strikeout unless it's a strike him out, throw him out double play. Like, he
we're not
grounds
trying to strike
into
out.
double plays.
Yeah, Jake, I like to look at baseball, and maybe others don't look at the game this way, but I played baseball, and I remember a lot of coaches teaching me how baseball really works. How does this whole thing work? Is it just a matter of getting the best players in the league or in the conference, and then the more good players you have as opposed to another team, that's going to be how successful you are? They tried to describe baseball to me as a science fair project. And what they meant by that is that a lot of times in a science fair project, when you were in groups and your teacher would throw you in a group, there's a group of 3. You've got one kid that's the smart kid in the group. You've got the middle kid that isn't one of the smarter kids, but he's willing to apply himself or herself to the project and help get it to the finish line. And there's always the third kid that's like the druggie that doesn't want to do any activity at all. He hasn't lifted a finger all semester, all quarter. He hasn't done a damn thing, right? That's what I see out of Alex Verdugo.
Oof.
I see a person who's completely unwilling to do the dirty work because he's not a good enough player to go out and survive off of instincts and talent. He doesn't have that ability. When I used to watch Robinson Cano play baseball, people all the time would talk to me about hustle and his inability to want to do the little things. But when you look at Robinson Cano, you would walk away from the field feeling, I just watched a special player in terms of talent. That's an all-time great I'm looking at. We're talking batting average. We're talking homers. We're talking hitting lasers all over the yard, going the other way. One of the most beautiful swings in baseball history. You don't watch Alex Verdugo at all and think you're watching one of the more supremely talented players in baseball. You think you're watching a player who's hitting 227 with an on base of 228. He clearly doesn't have the physical ability to rely on that. So having said that, if this is going to be the player you are, and I didn't know who Alex Verdugo was at all, I should be able to assume if these are your numbers, you better be Johnny Hustle out there. If I'm going to look at Baseball Savant for a 227 hitter who hasn't hit a home run in a month and a half, if I'm going to do that, you better be Jim Edmonds out in left field. But it hasn't been that way. If you dive deeper into the numbers for an organization that says they care about analytics, they're not relying on it, but they say they're aware. Michael Kay suggests that Aaron Boone is aware of all these analytics, and Aaron Boone probably has access to more analytics than you and I do, right? More than Baseball Savant, and Michael Kay is absolutely right. He does. Which analytic? I would like Aaron Boone to show me which analytic it is that says Alex Verdugo is the Yankees' best option in left field. I actually would love to be educated on that. I'm not saying this to be ignorant. I'm saying this because I want to understand how this played out the way it played out. How is it possible that Alex Verdugo is that much better of an option than John Birdie in left field? When I see Birdie come back, I want to see him in left field until Jason Dominguez is called up, and now it's his job. But to suggest that we're talking about rookie of the year contests and all this stuff about first round picks, compensation. That all is great. If you want to do that, like you said, Jake, be our guest. But that has nothing to do. That has no bearing on what we should do decision-wise with Alex Verdugo. Alex Verdugo, full stop, is one of the worst players in this sport. He's really bad. He doesn't do the dirty work. He doesn't do the sexy work. He doesn't do any work. He would be fired in any other job that didn't have a guaranteed contract. He's essentially like a union worker, is what I'm looking at. So I really want to see the Yankees get accountable and just put a hand up and say, we were wrong about this player. Let's do the right thing for this organization, because we're now sitting in, it's now late August. We want the best players on the field, and it's become perfectly clear the time is up to wait on Alex Verdugo to get anything figured out. He's shown long term he can't play in the second half of a year. He didn't even play well in the first half of the year for us. So I just think this candle is burnt out.
I agree. I mean, and Birdie, for those of you who don't know, has played 577 innings in the outfield. He can play the outfield. I'm not worried. Plus, it's left field. I mean, we saw Stanton in left field. You know, at the end, we're talking like at the end of his playing days in the field.
Yeah.
And he was talking. He's like, yeah, I had a blast. He's like, yeah, that was fun. But I mean, it's not to say that left field doesn't matter, but that is technically, that's the one spot where it's like, yeah, they do technically throw a guy out there. And I know they like Verdugo's right field-esque arm in left field. But aside from his arm, like that's the only thing he really has going for him right now. He's not a hustle guy.
Do you see him on the postseason roster?
I mean, I really do, Gary. I really do think they should DFA him. Like, I'm not just saying that, because the reason I say that is he is in a contract year. The money is pretty much already paid for the most part. So you're paying like the rest of the season out. I mean, the question is, when you see a team like the Dodgers, okay, you see a team like the Dodgers who just had 500 something at bats out of Jason Hayward with them, and he hit 260 with the Dodgers, and they just DFA'd him. I know he's not playing well this year, but Hayward's a good defensive outfielder.
Right.
You know, he's got a cannon. I mean, he's better than Verdugo. I mean, I understand his batting average is bad this year, but he's a better player than Verdugo. And so it's this is not me saying, yeah, go out and get Jason Hayward. Although I will say, if you were going to get Jason Hayward, it'd probably be a fair trade-off if you DFA'd Trent Grisham and got Hayward. But that'd be the only way I would do it. But
you know what they should do?
Are you saying they should do that?
No, not at all. Jason Hayward, I'm a huge Jason Hayward fan. I don't think there's any fit with the Yankees.
I don't either.
No, we've got enough Trent Grishams. It's good. Okay.
Yeah.
But let me say this. This is what I think the Yankees should do, at least until Jason Dominguez or Birdie, preferably Jason Dominguez, is on this team.
I mean, I think
Waldo I put Oswaldo Cabrera in left field. That's what I do.
I mean,
I put Oswaldo Cabrera in left field. That way, Jazz Chisholm returns tomorrow. He should be on the field. He should be starting at third base. The way Gleyber Torres is playing right now, especially at leadoff, you don't do anything to change that. Gleyber Torres is your leadoff hitter. He's starting at second base. Anthony Volpe, like usual, is your shortstop. And it's up to you. Probably, I'm going to guess DJ LeMahieu's starting at first base tomorrow. So you're talking about having Cabrera in left field. That's a huge upgrade over Alex Verdugo. Is it the greatest player in the world? No. Cabrera is not the greatest player in the world, but he's probably closer to league average. Alex Verdugo's much closer to the worst player in baseball than he is league average. So I just think in general, when it comes to, just positionally, Cabrera over Verdugo is just a massive shot in the arm for this offense and this team.
Well, it's kind of annoying because people have totally forgotten that like Cabrera was literally an outfielder. I mean, is that 995 fielding percentage in 881 innings in the outfield? He can play the outfield. He can play right field. He can play left field. He can play center field. Now, he's only played one game in center field, but left field, he's played 400 innings. And none of that, I don't think, has come this year.
Hitter. Jake, he's a 250 hitter. His on base is about 300. Now, is that great? No, that's not great. His ops is 30 points below league average. But Oswaldo Cabrera has kind of shown you he's a player you can't really look at his stats in the overall season and then make a judgment. he's either amazing or just awful. So if Cabrera's swinging a hot bat, you kind of know you're getting that version of him. And then when that dries up, take him off the field and call up Jason Dominguez. So I just think right now, Oswaldo Cabrera can be utilized. He's still a young player. He's just 25. Utilize him as just a little, God, he's just a little teaser. He's a little taste. And then you throw somebody who's a much better player in Dominguez in his spot. You don't always have to have the players who play in October on the field in August. It doesn't have to work that way. Use these players to your advantage. And I just don't see what the benefit is of having him off the field and putting Alex Verdugo, who just chops ground balls at second base. I mean, and he's not running. So obviously all of our complaints, and they see what we say. They see what we say on Instagram and Twitter and on YouTube. As much as these people think that we don't matter, podcasts don't matter, we're just talking into the ether and talking to ourselves. No, let's be honest. Aaron Boone, these players, they're aware of the conversation. He sees all those conversations and it doesn't do a thing. Hasn't changed a thing. It won't make any impact to him. He's going into a contract year knowing what the narrative is about him, which that he won't play hard. His old manager said in Alex Cora, yeah, Verdugo, he just doesn't play very hard, right? So if that's the case, why would you wait on anything else to happen? If there's one thing Cabrera does do, it's play hard. So I'm absolutely pushing him out to left field tomorrow. Does it happen? Probably not, but I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got to get Cabrera in this lineup. I mean, you know, when we're talking about the postseason, that's a little different. It's going to be hard to put him in there. I will say this, Cabrera at first base, if Rizzo doesn't pan out, I think is the move. I don't know if they go that direction, but I think it is the move. He's played 9 games this year there. Like, I mean, really? Yeah, he's played 9 games at first. No one talks about that.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, he's played 9 games at first. By the way, since June 22nd, that's 32 games in 19 starts. Oswaldo Cabrera is hitting 286, and he's got a 337 on base percentage, 309 batting average with balls in play. Okay.
Wow.
So,
okay.
I think he's underrated, and I think he's just going through kind of the same things. Like when you see him slumping, he's going through what Ben Rice is going through for the first time in his career. Because Ben Rice, you know, today had a really nice sac fly, gave him an extra, you know, insurance run. But Ben Rice is not the same player that we saw before the All-Star break. And I think a big reason is because, you know, he's somebody that needs to be played every day. He's played every day at AAA, AA, single A, high A, low A, wherever. He's somebody that needs to play. And now you can adapt when you have realized, okay, my role in the MLB is I'm a platoon guy, right? But in your first year, you know, it's hard to go mentally from hitting 3 home runs in a game, looking like the most offensive player outside of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto for a time being, and then being told, LeMahieu's back, so goodbye. And I think it's killed his confidence. I have said it multiple times. I really love the kid. I think they need to send him down. I think he needs a reset. And the reason I bring that up right now is because Cabrera is still being affected by this, but he's doing a better job in a sense, in my opinion. He's done a better job seeing that this is his 3rd year in the major leagues.
Right.
He's rolling with the punches. He's understanding, okay, I am a streaky guy. I am much better when I play every day. Probably most people are. But he, in his role, is helping out the Yankees. Now, I'm still going to go to bat for him and say that he should be in the lineup tomorrow. Absolutely. Just because Jazz Chisholm is at 3rd, to your point, doesn't mean you can't put Cabrera at left field or even first base. And so for me, I think Oswaldo has done a nice job of kind of adjusting to, hey, I'm not an everyday player. I know I should be, but I'm not getting that every day. And he's still going out there. He's putting together good at bats. And the most important thing that no one wants to talk about when it comes to Oswaldo Cabrera is the biggest issue with him in 2022. What was the biggest issue, Gary? Do you remember? The biggest issue with him as a player. Everyone talks about
it that he doesn't hit righty?
No, it was that he whiffs like crazy.
Well, yeah, he was striking out. Yeah.
Well, now he's 86th percentile whiff percentage.
What's he hitting, though, right-handed this year? Do we have that number?
I mean, I could find that number.
Yeah, I would love you to find that number. But in the meantime, I need to bring up some bad news.
Oh, no.
There's some bad news. So if you look at tomorrow night's game,
It just
right? We're
dropped.
super excited about that game. Carlos Rodon's on the bump, right? We need a bounce back performance out of him, no question about it. We're playing the Colorado Rockies. That's the good news. Here's the bad news. We are facing Kyle Freeland. Kyle Freeland is one of the worst pitchers in Major League Baseball, but he is still a left-handed pitcher, and the Yankees don't play very well against lefties. Now, do I expect them to play poorly tomorrow? I don't. But
You scared me with that, man. I already knew they were facing Freeland, and you're like, I got some bad news.
Yeah, no. But here's the big but.
Big but.
You don't expect to see Ben Rice tomorrow. So kind of to your point about shooting down your confidence, I don't expect to see Ben Rice tomorrow. I expect to see DJ LeMahieu at first base, and that's my expectation. He hasn't been playing very well. He's been beating ground balls. He's been striking out when you cannot afford to strike out. But I guess it's hard to just get overly picky about these lineups because we're playing Colorado. Technically, these small decisions in your lineup shouldn't have any bearing on the results of tomorrow's game. Let's be real here. Whether or not Austin Wells is on the bench because we're playing a lefty, okay? If you guys see Trevino, I would say it's justified to be upset, okay? I'm going to justify it. Mm-hmm. But should Austin Wells' presence be absolutely necessary for Carlos Rodon to go out there against the Rockies at home and get a job done? In my estimation, he should be able to, given the circumstances, go out there and take care of business. We don't pay you almost $30 million a year to go out there and tell me that the difference of the game was having a better catcher out on the field. I just think in general, you've got to go out and take care of business. Tomorrow's game is on Carlos Rodon. It just is. Go out there, dominate, do exactly what Nestor Cortez did, give us length, and let Aaron Boone make decisions when he wants to make that decision in the bullpen. Don't force his hand, because we've seen too many times when Aaron Boone's put in a position where he's got to make a decision, it's got to be correct, he goes the wrong direction. Put him in a position in the 6th or 7th inning where he's comfortable going to guys who have frankly been pitching really well. Make him put Canley out there, right? Don't force us in a 1-run game against the freaking Rockies at home to bring in Clay Holmes and hope to God a ground ball doesn't go to a Gleyber Torres or whoever else. No, put us in a position to dominate tomorrow, and that is what it is.
Yeah, I'm not able to see his splits right now for the I mean, he doesn't really hit switch that much anyway, but against left-handed pitching, he's batting 197. So I mean, that's pretty bad. I'm not going to lie.
It's not good. So would you say that that's a type of, well, I mean, let's be clear. Alex Verdugo's probably not hitting much better. And yeah, Verdugo hasn't done enough where I would be comfortable playing him against any lefty. So I just roll with Cabrera and give him the opportunity to right that ship and rely on his talent, because frankly, he's a more talented player than Verdugo. So I'm rolling with that.
No, I agree with you there. I can give you Verdugo splits right now. His platoon splits
209.
That's your prediction?
Nope, I'm going to go 218 against lefties.
216.
What did I say?
218.
Oh, I was close.
You were very close. You were very close. His last 14 games, he's actually hitting 167. He's 7 for his last 42.
Is CC Sabathia a better hitter than Alex Verdugo? No, that's a real question. So for those of you who are around,
Carlos Zambrano.
Remember, we're going to thank you, Zach Greinke. We're going to give you guys a movie that we would love to see you put in the comment section. But with that movie, please, for the love of God, let us know how many pitchers in baseball history, give me the names, that were a better hitter than Alex Verdugo, because I think the list is quite long.
I mean, we're going in on Alex Verdugo. I think it is just a wicked bad year for him. I don't think he's a bad baseball player. I think currently he is, but I don't care about
2024.
Yeah, I don't care what he's going to do in 2025. I do not care, because he won't be on the Yankees. So as a podcaster, both of us, our job of Yankees Unloaded is to give it to you straight. And Alex Verdugo right now is not a good baseball player right now. And that's why he shouldn't be in the lineup. It's really that That it's that straight up. And to wrap this thing up, Jazz Chisholm coming back tomorrow. Gary, what do you expect from Jazz? Because I think Jazz is kind of a guy that I wouldn't be surprised he steps up there and just belts a home run into the short porch. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he needs a little bit of a rev up period. Like he was really coming on and in a rhythm and everything. And now he's coming back from a 10-day IL stint. So I don't know. What do you think about Jazz Chisholm as early as tomorrow? I know it's an easier team to go up against, but the Yankees seem to struggle against easy teams.
I'm going to be real with you. I'm expecting lightning from Jazz Chisholm tomorrow, and I'll tell you why. This is a player who's hitting in his last 15 days as a baseball player. He's hitting 333. His on base is 357. Now, of course, he's coming back from injury, and that's all valid. But this is a player that clearly needed to be under some type of spotlight, which to your credit, Jake, you were very high on this pickup of Jazz Chisholm. Very. Now, some people were waiting on star talent, and I said he needs to star in his role. That's his job. We need more role players that can do a job because we're putting too much pressure on Juan Soto and Aaron Judge to perform. And we've seen in years past, Aaron Judge hasn't exactly been the most spectacular postseason performer. I expect that to turn around. But if that's going to turn around, players around him need to do a job as well. You can't just wait on Aaron Judge to be a superhero when the pitching and the strategies are at their best. So Jazz Chisholm tomorrow, my expectation is for him to be Jazz Chisholm, the player that we picked up at the deadline, a player who's looking to put on a show, and he's willing to do the dirty work. He's willing to play any position, and he's going to play it well at third base tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to his return. He's one of the more fun players to watch on this team. You talked about it a couple days ago. This Yankees team isn't that fun to watch, especially when they lose. Well, Jazz Chisholm is fun to watch. He is a player that isn't going to do things the same way as a Verdugo or a DJ LeMahieu do. If he's struggling at the plate, he might drop down a bunt, steal a bag, and then score on a single to right field. He's one of those type of athletes that can do that. So it's what we were asking for. Of course, we were asking for more players like him, but now that it's just him through the door, I mean, how can you not be excited to see him on Friday?
I think he goes 1 for 5 with a home run.
Okay, I'm going to go 1 for 3, extra base hit. He'll have a walk. He's going to score 2 runs tomorrow. So he's going to have an impact. He'll play a really good third base. And ultimately, it shouldn't matter too much. We're playing the Rockies. I know they're a Major League Baseball team. You got to come out and play. They're not just going to lay down. We're playing for a reason. Jazz Chisholm's going to make an impact tomorrow.
I like that. I mean, I think so too, because I think he's going to hit a home run, but it was more so a thought-provoking question, and I was very curious how you were going to answer it. So I like that. So now I got to give them a movie, and I don't think we used this movie yet, so you'll have to let me know if we have. But you and I were talking about it. Yeah, I don't think we have. I think we just talked about it. Catch Me If You Can.
Great movie.
Watch it right now. Like, we're wrapping this up. Like, it's not going to go on another 10 minutes like some of our other shows do. Like, I'm saying right now, you should be setting that up to watch it.
Wait a minute. Are you making a pun here?
What do you mean?
Well, the New York Yankees are a half game up in the division. We're now a full game up in the division. Baltimore's currently losing to Houston.
I wasn't, but
catch me in the division if you can.
Catch me. Yeah, exactly. It's awesome. I mean, Leo and oh my God, what the hell
is it? Hanks?
Tom Hanks, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio and Christopher Walken's in it, and it's based on a true story. Watch it. It's so good. It's also kind of wholesome. So it's not like a psychological thriller like some of the stuff that we've thrown out there before. And it's not a comedy. It's kind of like blurs the lines of a drama, action, and like, I guess sometimes, there's a little comedic element to it, but type it in the comments section if you got to this point. Catch Me If You Can. I think that's one of the best movies made. I think it's phenomenal.
I agree. I totally agree with you. So yeah, catch me if you can in the comment section. Again, shout out to our new members because they're starting to come in. Yes. That is super helpful for us. And like I said, I'm promising gold microphone. When this becomes a full-time thing, I'm going gold mic.
Even if it's not as good of a mic as that one.
Even if it's not as good of a mic as this one. That's right.
I'll say this. If you want to join the team, if you want to support the channel further, you can also become a member. The link is going to be in the description and the comment section pinned below. In addition to that, if at any point, because I've had people ask, hey, how do I support the channel? Donating or whatever. We have super chats enabled. So or super thanks, I think it's called. So you just drop a super thanks in the comment section below, and that'll also go to the channel, and that'll go to production and making this.
Man, they couldn't come up with a better name than super thanks.
I know. They love saying
that is
super.
Brutal. Yeah,
they
that's
love saying
brutal.
super. So anyway, that's going to do it. That will do it. Be sure to drop in the comment section below if you've gotten to this point, of course. Catch me if you can. And feel free to join and become a member today if you're interested. Like I said, link is in the description below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't already. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, folks.
This video.